Welcome to Recovery Talk Live, an ongoing open discussion about psychological, emotional, and spiritual recovery. Our mission is to deliver the message that those who are suffering with emotional trauma can recover. And now, here are your hosts, Dawn and Terry.
Hi, welcome to Recovery Talk Live. I'm Dawn Maxwell.
Terry LaDow.
And we are venturing off our usual recovery talk today into a different type of talk where we talk about a project you and I are involved in called The Recovery Bus, a new reality show. And we are blessed today, Terry. Blessed, because we have a special guest, Mr. Colin Tanji,
very special,
our producer of the Recovery Bus. Just roll in here with us, Colin.
Thank you.
Tell us how Colin rolls. He just rolls on the chair. He rolls on the chair. Well, thank you for joining us
guys.
today.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. It's fun to be here to talk about this project. It's something very different for me, and I know that, disclaimer, we are all involved in this project together.
Yes.
It's a project that we've been working on for a while, so just so there's no mumbo-jumbo or anything. Full disclosure. We want to have full disclosure.
Full disclosure, and Colin is actually our producer for Recovery Talk Live, a separate project.
I normally stand behind there.
Yes, where he's out here sweating, and we have pads around him now, making him be on this side. But we're excited about the Recovery Bus. And when you first heard about the project, you are not a recovery guy like Terry and I. You know, not to my knowledge, working in a 12-step program.
Not yet.
You had heard about, I think not yet. We're working on you, and you know there's always hope for you, Colin, so don't give up on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're with you.
Don't give up. Don't give up.
We support you in your endeavors.
Okay.
But you had heard, I think, my recovery story to some degree.
Yes.
Losing 95 pounds, coming out of pretty severe childhood abuse, and all the tools that I had used to that. And this project was presented to you about bringing all those tools that were faceted and rolling them in an intervention. Ty Pennington is the role kind of that I play, Extreme Home Makeover show.
Right.
And you jumped right on board with that. What made you decide to do that, not being familiar with recovery?
Okay, so I have to backtrack just a little bit here with the jump right in part.
Okay.
So yeah, actually I didn't really jump right in per se. Yeah.
You shoved?
Yeah. So yeah, as you mentioned, I was introduced to this project quite some time ago. I want to say maybe even 2 or 3 years ago is when it first.
I didn't even know that.
Is when the bird first chirped in my ear that this thing was out there, and I thought it was an interesting concept, but as you pointed out at the head, it's not something I knew anything about. It's not something I've had any experience with yet, and had very little access to people who had been through the process. So when you talk about when the word recovery was used to me, that term was how it was characterized to me.
Right.
Of course, I had a lot of preconceived notions about what that meant.
What were those?
Well,
because
I think
we try to break stereotypes.
Sure.
So.
I think that recovery to me meant something that you went to go get fixed, and that you went into recovery, and when you came out of recovery, you were done.
Yeah.
It was a repair job.
Yeah.
And they put the screwdrivers to you, and they did what they do, and when you come out to the side, you're done. So that's what I was thinking when it was first presented to me, and I knew nothing about that. I didn't think I'd be a very good candidate.
Not an uncommon thought. I don't
to
think
produce
so.
a show like that. So then, as literally as the years kind of rolled on, and more and more discussion sort of came up around, and at that point, you and I hadn't really had any experience together yet. Additional details about what the show could be sort of came up, and one of the things that really intrigued me was, I think we see a lot of shows on television where a person, let's just say a therapist, a doctor, a fixer, goes into the show, addresses the person, and then it's kind of at the end it's a tidy bow and they seem fixed. What was presented to me with this show was we're going to go in with a team of therapists, and it was and this is kind of what sparked me, who are each so different, whose individual approaches are so different that it will be hugely beneficial to the family,
Right.
but also, you know, and we can't deny that then when we're pursuing television endeavors, we do want you know, good television, as it were. It's something we always are looking for, is what makes the good story. And it seemed to me there was two parts of it that really attracted me. I did not want to be a part of one of these train wreck reality shows. I did not want to go in and whisper in somebody's ear that they should act mad.
Create drama.
I didn't want to do that.
Right.
That kind of, you know, I think it, you know, makes a real joke of reality TV. I thought that there was room for a show that really was reality TV. And then, so I didn't want to be a part of that. It really appealed to me that there was a potential to truly help people. And then the idea of the three therapists just seemed like a really great story hook that I hadn't really seen before in a show, in a self-help type show. Obviously, we've seen it. The model for the show is a home makeover type show where a team goes in, and applying that approach to more of a self-help therapy type thing seemed very intriguing to me. And it wasn't really until that we got to that point in our discussions that I became interested.
So it was the evolution of what it could be that interested you.
Yeah, definitely.
And how it could help. So at that point, we started actually bringing in people that have been used in my family, including Terry. And Terry, you want to recite your credentials? I know you like doing that. I'll just...
Oh, I hate this part.
Okay, just go humor me.
I'm a licensed drug and alcohol counselor. I'm a Christian counselor. I deal with families. I deal with a lot of stuff, anger.
Yeah.
I deal with couples working through addictions and things like that. So, and then I have a history. You know, I was out there for 38 years myself doing incredibly stupid stuff. So I bring some stuff to the party that other therapy type people don't.
Right.
So, and you know, it's kind of how we met. So.
And you were going to be our nutcracker of the show, the one who just gets in there.
Something else.
Hard. Well, I'm just saying, you know, like the kind you crack the walnuts with. Don't go off onto some off-color thing with me.
And I should say
the hardcore guy.
That when the project was in the early stages of being explained to me, and this is just in talks, one of the therapists was characterized as, oh, we've got this surly old guy, and he's just a butt kicker, and he gets in your face and just tells it like it is, and that actually turned out to be Terry.
Yeah.
Turned out to be Terry.
It turned out to be Terry. Yeah.
And then we brought in a couple other people. Dr. Kendra Clausen, called her Earth Mother, and Brian Post from the East Coast, who does a lot of trauma work and adoption, and through a sequence of events, got a real family willing to let us come into their home, and really make a difference.
The initial components of putting the show together came together in a really organic.
Yes.
It didn't feel like we had to work for it. I mean, we had one of our pre-production meetings where it was one of the first times we all got to meet. Everybody was just on board.
Yeah.
Everybody felt like the right fit for the project. And
you were excited.
That's, well, because in that first meeting was where I really did see that triangle, what I've come to refer to as that therapeutic triangle,
the three of them,
one of which Terry's a part of, that and they are each you guys are so different, and the possibilities there, I think, not having been through therapy myself, I can't necessarily say, but the possibilities dramatically certainly seemed very intriguing and a lot of fun.
Well, the thing that was important to me is that we all are headed in the same goal. We're headed the same direction, if you will. We come at it differently, and with that,
that's true.
When we move into a family situation, or like we did with the recovery bus, we had no how do I say this? We could meet the needs of the family because of our differences. Yeah. And we were able to address the issues that were in there, even though we're all headed in the same direction. We come at it from a different viewpoint, and it made a difference. It was for me, it was way cool.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea of being able to meet somebody in a crisis situation and being able to do something, do something with them was pretty amazing.
So we did a casting call. And we got a real
as far
family.
As far as that goes, a casting call.
Yeah.
A casting call. Well, we had to call it that.
Yeah.
And through just a series of odd events, found a local family through a call that went out on the East Coast that was just unique. And this is a family who hadn't been in recovery. I think had done some, Joe and Jody, we call them, and they were willing to let us roll in. And I think it's fair to say none of us knew what to expect rolling in on that shoot the first day.
Yeah,
We did not know what to expect. This was a family on the outs, about to end it, and we just showed up, and they were at a point, I would say, of desperation to say, yes, strange people, come to our house.
Very strange people.
Yeah, very strange people. We're so on the outs here, we're going to let you come in. And I think, and we've had this conversation, Colin, none of us expected what happened and transpired in a 4-day shoot. Do you as a professional, going into this as a therapist, did you think we could make a difference in 4 days, 10 hours a day in a family's life? Because therapy is normally extended over a long period of time.
I think the answer is yes, no.
Thank you for that clarity.
That's what I do. I
Here's
think
mine.
as a counselor, going into a situation in which people want help, that's always a really good indicator.
Right.
There's some hope here, if you will. To make a difference in 4 days, I didn't think we were going to change everything.
Right.
But we could give them understanding of what's going on. We could give them tools, direction. We could say, this is how you do this differently. We could build a trust situation in that there is hope. It doesn't have to go like this. So my expectations in the 4 days wasn't that everything was going to be okay, but they could come out of that intervention, if you will, with a certain amount of hope, a certain amount of confidence that they're committed to working on this thing, and that there's people who are not going anywhere. And we didn't go anywhere. We didn't just come in, do our thing, and head on down the road. Because, in fact, I still see them on occasion. So the process of them given, I guess that's the bottom line. The phrase that they used on a consistent basis was, we think there's hope now.
At the end.
Yeah.
Well, let me set it up a little. So we rolled in, and here's 3 large personalities therapeutically. We have Terry and Kendra and Brian, just really everybody in a positive way. I mean, characters in their own right, with their own completely different styles.
From my side, it was a dream come true to definitely see
On the producing
those
side.
very large personalities, larger than life, really, in some ways, and also so different, wonderfully different.
And see, as a host, and something that the show was loosely based on, having used everybody in my own life, I walked in as a host with the confidence knowing this is not a fallacy. This can really work because I've used these people, except for Brian, who we brought in and had tremendous results. So I knew we were walking in with concrete tools, not just a hypothesis of something that could potentially work.
I think the other thing is for us, was that even though we were different, our desire for the family. Kendra and I go back long ways.
Yes.
And so there was some basic stuff that was there in that we trusted each other, and I think that was we didn't have to go through the exercise of getting to know each other and where's your stuff. It's like we kind of knew that we knew, and that was huge because we didn't step on each other, and there was no conflict on the from on my side of the street on what I was going to do, and we were able to talk to each other, which you did a really good job of kind of summing up some stuff. So
I try to just keep some congruency in it. And when we get back from our break, I really want to address the difference, which we haven't even talked about in our show yet, of therapy and recovery, because you brought the recovery aspect into it, even though you do therapy, where the other two are therapists, yet not the traditional therapists one might imagine with a couch and a desk and a pencil and a pad of paper. So I think we can address the differences I'd like to talk about, and then also you, just as an outsider having no recovery, no therapy, to meet your expectations.
Sure, yeah. No,
And if you'd like to visit recoverybus.com, also there is a website you can get a pre-clip of it, and we'll be back right after this.
You're watching Recovery Talk Live. If you would like to contact Dawn and Terry, please send your email to recoverytalklive@gmail.com. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or insight, we'd love to hear from you. Your identity will remain anonymous, and your name will not be revealed on air. Again, send your email to recoverytalklive@gmail.com.
Welcome back to Recovery Talk. I'm here with my co-host Terry LaDow and our producer and also producer of the upcoming reality show Recovery Bus. And we just got and spent a long time, laying out how we got to this point. But I really would love to jump into the guts of it. We rolled into this family's house. The wife told me she had a foot out the door. This family was on the skids, and we show up and with 3 therapists and no plan, basically, except for, really, can we just be honest, except for we're going to get these people well in 4 days. And it was hot, and there were a lot of lights and cameras. And one of the things we ended the last segment with is, what is the difference between recovery and therapy? Now, Colin, it's interesting, you've never been in therapy. Most people, I'm imagining out there, the way I started therapy and maybe the way you started or even conduct your own is a therapist sitting in a couch and you're there, you're on the, client on the couch, therapist taking notes. Recovery is different in the fact that it's done with groups and open sharing, and it's direct communication. The therapists that we do a lot of mat work, and this could be alarming for some people to hear, but there's actually, the couch is out the window, the mattress literally, I think from one of the boys' bedrooms, is on the floor, Batman sheets removed, and not Terry, because he's so grounded, but our other therapists do mat work where they actually lay the client down, get down, grieve with them, cry with them, sob with them. There's some mass hysteria. And I think, and I've actually done mat work. I've done it with Kendra going back, and it was very therapeutic for me to recall childhood abuse. It's a safe environment. Someone's there supporting you, and you go back and relive it, get to the other side of it, because you can only get around it by going. You can't go around it. You have to go through it. But I don't know, had you ever seen mat work? You've never seen mat work. Have you ever seen the mat work therapy before, Terry?
No.
That was done there. He's still in recovery for that? Yeah. Okay, it's alarming. I mean, because what's different about Brian's mat work, and I'm talking the husband of the family on the mat sobbing, and the therapist laying next to him, or just getting on the mat for him and crying it out for him because his emotions were blocked. And having done that, I hadn't seen that much of it. I wasn't as surprised. You guys, I thought I was going to have to get the defibrillator because it was so, it's not unethical, it's so uncommon and so unique that anybody, you potential viewers, you people who will view, have not seen this if you're thinking you're going to see somebody on the couch. So first I want to get your opinion, Colin, of what that looked like to you. Were you scared? And then yours as a practitioner.
Okay.
And that, get your opinion.
Sure. So as you rightly point out, I've never been a part of the therapeutic
with
process
mat work
before, and I would suffice it to say, and I'm not just saying this to plug the show, is that on our pilot episode of Recovery Bus, I think we filmed some things that have never been filmed before. I think we filmed some things that people will never have seen before, and I'll characterize that moment.
Give us a teaser.
Well, I'll characterize that moment where, and there was a couple, and there's some great contrast.
Yes.
The moment that Dawn is talking about was, it was mind-numbing, it was mind-blowing, it was, I think that most of the people that were present, myself included, were in tears.
Yes.
And I'm trying to run a crew, and we're all in tears. It's
you were, dude. I saw you go in the bathroom,
it's just
hugging the husband.
It's a very opening process, Contrast that with a moment where some people in the family were just not opening up the way they should. Contrast that with Terry maneuvering that person into a setting that worked specifically for him.
Yeah.
And it was I mean, what Terry was doing was he was doing therapy without therapy.
Yeah.
It was just,
hey buddy.
I mean, I think it started off with a conversation. I can't remember. It was some bizarre. He was telling us about something really
Terry
crazy.
therapizes you without you knowing you're getting therapized. You think you're having a conversation, and he's digging in your brain.
And Terry was able to roll right into it. And I thought that was really impressive, because what it showed, I thought, was that the therapists were playing to the needs of the family.
Right.
Where, you know, we couldn't have put that guy on the mat right then.
No.
It wouldn't have worked.
No.
He would have laughed. But Terry was able to pull him aside in a really casual, guy to guy, just talk to him, just very man to man, and that at that moment was what worked for him.
So Terry's therapeutic technique allowed Joe, the dad, to roll into this other very unconventional, you never saw anything like it and you might be completely freaked out technique.
Yeah.
Where this guy hasn't cried, I don't know, in 20 or 30 years. He's laying on a mat, and then Brian, the therapist, is laying on the mat crying out this guy, Joe, our dad's pain.
Yes.
And it actually, there was Joe crying his first tear.
Yeah. But
and
Joe,
this is a tough guy. This is not a dude
yeah.
who's just going to lay on a mat and cry.
Yeah, but as you said, Joe couldn't have gotten there unless Terry
got him there.
had helped him to get on that mat. And I think that's the dynamic of the show that is so unique. It's a triangular approach.
Yes.
There's 3 wildly different therapists, but it really shows the value of the different therapies.
It does.
They're different therapeutic styles.
For me, hosting it, you know, just kind of being the, you know, let's keep a congruent storyline going part of it, I was fascinated to see you so emotionally rocked. I mean, just rocked because people, it was so raw. And none of us anticipated. No,
you couldn't help it. There's nothing you could do. You were there.
Yes.
I mean, the emotion was as thick as, you know, you could cut it with a
very
knife.
thick.
It was just,
okay, he's
all
laughing.
around you.
You and I, having hearts and being deep feeling people, were very moved by this. And then I move into the kitchen area. Even our tough camera guy, Corey, I think I may have seen a mist around him at one point. And then I walk into the kitchen of this really intense, you know what, if anybody wrote the script, they would have thought we made it up because it's so bizarre, what this type of therapy. And there's Terry sitting at the kitchen table. Oh, come on. Like, what is this? I've never seen this. This is not your therapeutic style. Come on, be real. Yours works for you. I've done mat work. I never saw anything like it before, where the therapist cries for you, you know, some kind of transference backward. I mean, what were your thoughts? Because America's going to respond either like him, where they're going to be crying and going, oh my gosh, this is gut-wrenching, or this is hokey. That's my interpretation of you.
You're right in that I don't do that.
No, you don't do that.
I don't do that. I understand it. That kind of stuff opens up people very quickly or shuts them down very quickly.
Okay, I agree.
The Dodie was open.
That's our wife. The Dodie and Joe are a couple.
Joe, on the other hand, so for me to figure out, okay, we got 4 days. Actually, I got 3 days. I mean, because we had the beginning.
Yeah, we're figuring out what we're doing. Yes,
it was effectively 3 days.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like, how do you get people to open up that quickly, to get to the core issues? How do you do that? And so, knowing, I guess my training in because I'm a behaviorist, not truly a therapist.
Yes.
And so, it was like, okay, if I'm going to get Joe to do this, things got to happen. So, what you saw was me, in many ways, trying to figure out, okay, how am I going to do this?
This is a non-emotional guy, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joe's pretty wound tight.
Yes, yeah.
And so, how do I do this?
We love you, Joe.
And
love
so,
you, baby. Yeah.
So the process of figuring out, okay, how am I going to do this? And also me being, being aware of something that it's like, wow, I've never seen that. So I got affected in the process too. I probably will never do that kind of work.
Recovery bus again, or that kind of work?
That kind of work.
Like you're off the show now?
No.
You've been traumatized?
I will probably never do mat work.
No. I couldn't see you doing mat work.
It doesn't fit for me.
No.
But I can understand, and it was helpful for me in trying to figure out, okay, I got to take Joe from over here to over here. How am I going to do that? And so that was probably the hardest thing for me to do, was to try to figure out how to do that.
Right.
In a relatively short period of time. And the thing that was, I think when I was talking to him, you know, I said, Joe, do you trust me? And he said, yes, I do. And I said, okay, well then, here we go.
There we go.
And so
and we
that
went.
We kind of slipped the camera around the side. It was tried to make it, you know, painless and not so obvious that Now, this was a moment we were trying to capture, and I felt like going back to my original thing, saying I didn't want it to be this forced, contrived reality show. We kind of snuck that camera around so we could get those shots. Right. And of course, you guys were already mic'd, which was great. So
we never had to tell anybody to do anything.
No,
you never had to say. I mean, there was so much drama, and the goal now moving forward is to find other families who are on the skids, on the rocks, literally rolling in our old red bus with our team, and make a difference, to give hope. And the family, you said you have had follow up with them. Mm-hmm. Are they in a place of hope today?
They're
and without divulging, because now we're not on screen. It's private therapy.
It's really kind of interesting because they are better than they've ever been.
Wow.
Oh, that's great.
And there's some things that have happened that would be considered very stressful normally, given the old way, and now they've walked through them, and
wow.
it's pretty amazing.
And they're a unit.
Yeah.
I mean,
they are. It's
bless
very
cool.
cool.
them for stepping forward, because it was an incredibly brave thing to do, and that's another thing that really strikes me about the goal of the therapy, and talking about who needs it. Mm-hmm. I mean, just wonderful, beautiful people. I mean, this family.
Yes.
I mean, you'd never imagine that they were having trouble, but they were, beautiful, wonderful people, but, needing a little help.
That's what it is, though.
It's John Q. Average Public.
Yes.
That we all run around and we look good on the outside.
That's exactly it.
They were brave enough, courageous enough, whatever I can say, to say, we're a mess.
Yeah.
And would you guys come help? And what's been very cool about this is that they've told other people.
Yeah, they've been very good about that.
Yeah, and they've reached the end of their rope, so they were out of the closet like you and I. At that point, the pain had been so bad, there was no hope for the relationship, and they're willing to be out there. And it's truly, as we move forward, if you're a family out there that's in a lot of pain, you can go to recoverybus.com and email us and nominate yourself for future shows. We'd love to roll in on our bus, and we bring our own food, so it's really not a bad situation, because we just have some tissues, because we tend to forget those and have a lot of snot on sleeve type situation.
The thing that fascinated me was that something happened in my side of the street very quickly. That we had somebody that you had to watch all of this, and you had to try to figure out what was going on, and that what was going on in front of you was incredibly intense.
Yeah.
And so I find it fascinating that you and Corey, I mean, you guys walked in and it's like, oh my gosh. So my question was very simple, and I don't think I've ever asked you this one. Is like, what did you think?
Yeah, let's wrap up with that.
Yeah, sure.
Because you are really the viewing public, the person without the therapy and without the recovery.
Sure. That's a great question. It was, I think on one hand it was quite overwhelming to be in that environment. Mm-hmm. It was very thick. I mentioned that at one point I was in tears, and it wasn't the only time.
Yeah.
And it's because...
And you weren't the only one.
Yeah, definitely not. And it's because there was just so much cracking open. So much happening. I mean, upstairs you've got Kendra, our therapist Kendra Klassen, who's working with the kids. That was very intense for her and for the kids to go through that. Downstairs we've got something else going on.
It's therapy in every room.
It's this house full of therapy, and it was
mat work and
really intense. I mean, the mat work. I mean, I cannot characterize enough just how extraordinary that was. I just never have.
If you haven't
America
seen it,
will never have
baby.
seen anything like it. I think, to answer your question, Terry, it gave me an extraordinary amount of hope. I wanted to be a part of something that was going to work, was going to be a part of the solution, and I feel like this vehicle, this recovery bus is. So that's I think one of the biggest impression that I was left with.
And really, thank you for joining us here today, Colin. And really, please tune in and watch our sizzle reel, which is about to be launched at recoverybus.com. And there was even fighting amongst therapists. There was one of the therapists fighting with client. I mean, there's
conflict everywhere.
Natural dynamic. So thank you to my co-host Terry. Thank you, Colin, for joining us. Please join us next time on Recovery Talk.
You've been watching Recovery Talk Live. If you have questions, comments, concerns, or insight, we'd love to hear from you. Send your email to recoverytalklive@gmail.com. That's recoverytalklive@gmail.com. Look for new episodes every week, and thanks for watching Recovery Talk Live.